This time on the Highland Woodworker.
Well, here's one that's exceptional. It's blacksmith made and it's from the 1700s.
An exclusive look inside one of the most impressive tool collections we've ever seen. Plus, Fine Woodworking Magazine's John Tetreault shows us how he makes his mitered dovetails come together. Then spend a moment with Master Woodworker Mike Pekovich.
Asked my wife, hey, you want to move to Connecticut? She said, I guess so, why?
How that bold move landed his work on so many issues of one of the most respected woodworking magazines in the world. These stories and more, this time on the Highland Woodworker. Hello, I'm Charles Brock, and I'm a Highland Woodworker. I just love coming to Highland Woodworking in Atlanta, Georgia. It's where I get all my fine woodworking tools and a great woodworking education. Hello, Ed Sid.
Chuck, good to see you again.
Nice to see you. Ed, I spend a lot of time honing, and there's so many different blades, and it's hard to keep them sharp. Is there something new in hand honing?
Lee Nielsen has a beautiful honing guide. It's exquisitely made, and it's going to make your life a lot easier keeping your edge tools sharp. I'd be happy to show it to you.
I can't wait to see it. But first, we're in Columbia, Tennessee, the home of James Currie, and I've heard that Mr. Currie has a great collection of almost everything, especially woodworking tools. Let's go see.
So I've been collecting these about 40 years. Got a 12-to-12 bay that's nothing but household stuff and kitchen stuff. Then I got a blacksmith and horseshoeing band. Then I come to the back, I've got a cobbler's band. Then I got a farm band. And I treasure it because of the history that they used on the farm. Then outside, I've got a mule-drawn plow collection. I was raised in L.A., Lower Alabama, picking cotton. And I got one of the sacks hanging up right there that I pick cotton with. Yeah, I've accumulated a little of everything, I guess, but I've got a pretty good bottle collection. I got a little over 1,200 bottles, and I got a little over 2,500 cans displayed.
A lot of beer cans.
Beer cans, cold drink cans.
Now, who emptied out the beer cans?
You know, I don't really know. I found out that was numbing medicine, and I didn't need to be taking it. I got the first Dr. Pepper can they come out with, 1960. I did carpenter work. We built houses, done remodeling, and I had an old carpenter tell me the key to being a good carpenter is take home 10 nails of a night. And he's talking about them nails.
Well, Mr. Currie, where are your woodworking tools?
Well, I'd like to show you my wrench collection first. And
Oh, this is amazing. These are all wrenches.
yes, sir.
And they're all one of a kind?
Yes, sir. These lower ones are for the mule-drawn plows.
And so the multi-wrench has been around for a long time.
That keeps a farmer from having a total pocket full of wrenches. He can take one wrench and do it all. Here's one here that I treasure. It's from the 1800s.
Wow. And so this kind of wedges,
That's a wedge wrench.
and so the harder you pull against it,
The tighter it gets.
that is just outstanding.
Well, here's one that's exceptional. It's blacksmith made, and it's from the 1700s. And it's made according to what I can find out for wooden nuts.
Wooden nuts. And you were saying that Leonardo da Vinci designed this wrench.
Right, you see the layers of metal where he beat it together.
This is one of the biggest hold downs I've ever seen. I guess you would use it for really good sized lumber at your workbench. But look at all the tools up here. You've got augers of every type, auger drills, drill about any size hole. Now, what is this set right here?
That's a set of countersinking tools
Wow.
used with a brace.
And you've got a great brace collection. And then you got a huge collection of draw knives over there. Some that have handles that look like they they swing inside.
They fold up. That's to keep them dulling your blade or cutting yourself with it.
This is why I came. This is a tremendous collection of wooden hand planes, and no two are alike, are they?
No, sir.
This is just great. You've got some rounds, and you got some hollows, it looks like. And these were all handmade by artisans to use for themselves,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, here's one that's pretty good.
That's a beauty. It's got knickers,
Right.
and a skewed blade. And this is the sole here, right? Yeah. Oh, just beautiful. Well, it's evident that Stanley and the Bailey design are everywhere. It stands out as soon as you walk around the corner.
It's just, you can let it down flat or either roll it up a little tighter and I'd say you could even make bowls with that.
So this is a number 113 compass plane.
Made by Stanley
Yeah.
from 1877.
That is a beaut. And you can tell it was used and prized.
This one here's got the tonger and the groover.
A number 43, it looks like, by Stanley.
I call that a router.
It is. It is. It's just a beautiful router plane. Oh, this is a 7.5. Well, this is a great one. A Stanley 45.
Yeah, and this is the bits that goes with it.
All right.
And I've got another box of them right here.
In the original boxes. That's
Original
great.
boxes.
Really is. I mean, you could take this to a job site and pretty much do anything you needed to do with molding.
Any kind of molding you make. That's a chrome plated rabbit plane, hand rabbit plane.
And you,
And
a record number 2506, and you use it, I guess, to cut the inside shoulders.
right.
Well, that's nice. You could go right or left.
Yep, you can trim your window sashes with them if you need to. That's a Stanley level made to lay rail on the railroads.
Now, what's the purpose in this? Over there's a bunch of little steps. How did they use such?
Well, when you go in a curve, it's got to have so much elevation and it's got to be level. And that's the reason of the step downs is to work with the distance between the rails.
Okay, so that way you could get it just the right pitch.
Right, get the right pitch on the rails.
So it wouldn't throw the train off.
Right.
Well, that is something that's just unbelievable. It's amazing how our forefathers planned this stuff back then. They were really smart.
They know how to use their tools.
And I tell you, Mr. Currie, you're very smart too. This has just
Thank
been
you.
a wonderful time looking at our past as a woodworker and as a lover of tools. What a day and a time. If you'll look around your community, you're liable to find other collectors like Mr. Currie and be able to see great history in tools.
Chuck, this is the Lee Nielsen honing guide that I was telling you about. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. It's stainless steel and brass. It's not going to rust on you. Feel the heft of that.
Well, that's wonderful. And I see it has some dovetail jaws.
Yep, that's going to clamp most plane irons and chisels, and there are optional jaws that you can install to handle some of the other, like a skew chisel at an angle, and Lee Nielsen has jaws that are specific to some of the tools that they make.
Well, this is tremendous. I can't wait to get it back to the shop and try it out. Coming up,
It might look a little more complicated, but it's actually quite simple.
Fine Woodworking's John Tetreault demystifies the making of mitered dovetails. Plus, we'll step inside the mine, home, and workshop of Master Woodworker Mike Pekovich. Stay tuned. You're watching the Highland Woodworker.
I'm just an average, down-to-earth woodworker. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably about a 5. But one place I score a perfect 10 is right here, and I plan on keeping all 10. That's why I have a SawStop table saw. And there's more. Plenty of power, superior dust collection, and absolute accuracy. These features have made it the best-selling cabinet saw in America. Let Highland Woodworking help you put a SawStop in your shop.
For 35 years, Lee has manufactured the world's best joinery jigs. From our award-winning dovetail jigs and mortise and tenon jigs, to newer innovations like router table jigs. Easily add strong, beautiful joinery to your woodworking pieces, like half-blind dovetails, box joints, mortise and tenon joints, and through dovetails. Lee, simply the easiest and most versatile router joinery jigs.
Are your tools Tormek sharp? Tormek, consistent, reliable, and razor sharp. Tormek, sharpening innovation.
Woodworkers count on American-made forest saw blades for smooth, quiet cuts every time, without splintering, scratching, or tear-outs. The famous Woodworker 2 is the all-purpose combination blade. But for special cuts, Woodworker 2s are available for cutting dovetails, for flat-bottom joinery. A 30-tooth blade is perfect for ripping, a 48-tooth blade for superior cross cuts, and a finger joint blade set. There is a perfect Forest Woodworker 2 for every table saw cut. Highland Woodworking has been a leader in woodworking education for more than 30 years. They offer all kinds of woodworking classes year-round, ranging from how to hand-cut dovetails and mortises to how to sharpen a plane or a chisel, how to build a cabinet, a chair, or a bookcase, or how to turn a wooden bowl. There are classes on wood finishing, French polishing, and even antique furniture restoration. For a list of upcoming classes that may interest you, just look in their catalog or go to highlandwoodworking.com. Well, John Tetro, I love your mitered dovetails. Why would somebody go to all the trouble of cutting a mitered dovetail?
Well, it's actually not that much more trouble than a standard dovetail. It might look a little more complicated, but it's actually quite simple. And there's kind of two reasons that you might want to use it. One would be for aesthetic reasons, just if you want a cleaner look around the top of a box or a cabinet. But where I really like to use it is lining it up with where you would have a continuous groove. Say you're holding a bottom in a box like this one. And it's just handy because you can just run a continuous groove like with a dado set and then lay out and cut a mitered dovetail right where that groove is, and it'll hide it when you close it up. So I took these props to the point where it would differ slightly because you're cutting a mitered dovetail. So you lay out your normal set of tails, and then you would transfer those to the pin board. And then at this point, I didn't take out this material yet where we're going to lay out our two mitered dovetails, and I can show you how we'll do that.
All right, well, that sounds exciting.
So the first thing we would do is put the pin board in the vise, flipped around so the inside is facing, and this is where we're going to cut our 45-degree miters. We'll just stop just short of that outside edge. About like that. Then I'll go down to this end one. We'll do the same thing. Okay, and then we'll flip this around, and then I already marked a line here at 45 from our scribed line to the outside corner. And then we'll just go from this scribed line right to our outside edge and clean that up. And this pine cuts nicely. If you're doing this with a hardwood, it's even more important to have some sharp chisels. Yeah, that's pretty close, and then we'll still leave it a little bit proud. Okay, and on to our pin board. You might have to switch to a smaller chisel to get in close to that pin, or just angle it a little bit. And then here, you could set up like a ramped guide block, cut at 45.
As a reference.
As a reference, exactly. That'll help you be dead on when you're going from this scribed line to the outside edge. But since we have that scribed line, and it should be exactly 45 if we just go from there to that outside edge. And just get most of it out with a by eye. Tap these together and see how they fit. So a little more fine tuning and some glue, and that'll be around for a while.
John, I can't wait to get back to my shop and try this. What a great lesson.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Coming up, it's a decoration you might have seen on Japanese furniture.
She'd be able to fit right in there.
Master Woodworker Mike Pekovich shows us how it's done, and it's a lot of fun. You're watching the Highland Woodworker.
Woodpeckers, makers of fine woodworking tools like router tables, precision router lifts and fences, plus measuring and layout tools including squares, ovals, triangles, and more. We offer unique clamps like box clamps, the knuckle clamp, and X-Mat system. Our one-time tool program offers woodworkers innovative new tools. Woodpecker's precision tools are made and tested using state-of-the-art equipment. Woodworking tools from Woodpeckers. Tools you can trust for generations to come.
Introducing the ultimate flush trim router bit by Whiteside. Get CNC quality cuts from your patterns every time. Whiteside, industrial grade and American made. Highland Woodworking stocks a wide selection of Rikon power tools, known for their innovative design and rugged durability. Highland has sold thousands of Rikon's industry-leading bandsaws with sizes to fit every woodworking need, from the compact affordable 10-inch model to competitively priced 14 and 18-inch models. Shop us also for Rikon's reliable planers, lathes, and professional low-speed grinder, all with an exceptional 5-year warranty. Rikon Power Tools. If you can't make it to Highland Woodworking in Atlanta, Georgia, you can shop online at highlandwoodworking.com. They're great at getting what you want to your shop quick. Moment with the Master is brought to you by Woodpeckers. Many have been inspired by Mike Pekovich's teaching and work through Fine Woodworking magazine. He recently invited us to Connecticut so he could tell us his story in A Moment with a Master. Just beyond the colorful canoes and the cackling chickens sits Mike Pekovich's backyard workshop. This is where Fine Woodworking's art director builds his beautiful furniture, from dressers to jewelry cases to tea boxes. Mike does it all. Inside, you'll find precision hand and power tools much like the ones that inspired him to create when he was a child.
Well, I think for a lot of woodworkers, we probably all like to do things with our hands. And for me, going out my dad's garage and goofing around was the way that was a fun place for me to be.
Did he have tools?
He kind of did. Woodworking sort of skipped a generation in our family. So he had some tools. His dad, my grandpa Mike, he immigrated to this country, raised 6 kids on his own. He ran a little car garage in Billings, Montana, with an 8th grade education. He started out by building a one-room house, and every year he added another room onto the house until how many rooms? It looked like this little warren of little rooms by the time it was done. But definitely he's my sort of patron saint of woodworking or working with my hands. So, and one of probably the most influential things I ever made when I was 12 years old, I made a soapbox derby car. You know, the kind that you get in and race down the hill and everything. But boy, the skill set's there for a 12-year-old kid just to be shaping wood, to be tapping metal for threads, to be using Bondo and fiberglass and rivets and all kinds of hand tools. That was just, it didn't go that fast. I don't think I ever had a body suited to be making a car that was aerodynamic enough to be going fast, but the process of building the car was fantastic. And I think that probably more than anything else cemented just my, the joy of working with my hands and just, you know, making things. It was really cool. And I was always artistic. So graduating high school, I said, well, I'll go to art school because it's something I'm pretty good at. So I went to art school, and a lot of theory, a lot of talking, a lot of things that didn't really make sense to me. So I kind of floundered around, and I found myself taking a basic crafts class, which was basically a woodworking class in the furniture making department. And when I got introduced to that wood shop and I realized I could get college credits for cutting things up on a bandsaw, I was set. So I was quickly found my way into the furniture making program. This was at Long Beach State in Southern California. They had a tremendous crafts and furniture making program there. And that's where I really fell in love with woodworking. I think once that bug bites you, you know, once you sand down a piece of end grain and just feel how glass smooth that is, once you get an oil and wax finish on something, I don't think that ever leaves you. So I was working as a graphic designer for a skate shoe company in California, reading Fine Woodworking magazine. My son had just been born. He was 3 months old. I found an ad for a associate art director for this woodworking magazine in Connecticut. I asked my wife, hey, you want to move to Connecticut? She said, I guess so. Why? I said, well, there's this job out there. And so she was, gracious enough to allow me to pick her up with her infant son and move her 3,000 miles across the country for really just kind of for a job I knew nothing about, but I loved the magazine and I thought, how could this not be a great company to work for? And fortunately, it turned out to be perfect. I've been there for 19 years now.
Mike's job at Fine Woodworking magazine is to read manuscripts that are sent in, then figure them out and lay it all out. He uses photographs, illustrations, and captions to make it easier for readers to digest. When he is not hard at work at the Taunton Press, there is a good chance you might find him teaching a woodworking class.
Being in the shop when everything goes right is the best place in the world to be. Being in the shop when everything is going wrong, it's a struggle. And when you see beginning woodworkers continually struggle at the same points in the game, whether it's sharpening, getting a hand tool up and running, cutting a joint, using, even ripping a board on the table saw without it going all wonky and crooked. There's so many aspects that until someone says, no, do it this way, it can be a real challenge. So I think for me in teaching, it's getting people over the hump to where they're just having a blast. One of the more important things for me is try to find time to be in the shop and make something that I really don't have a reason to make. It's those personal
Like
projects.
the Hobbit piece.
Like my Hobbit cupboard. A woman came up when I was at a craft fair and she asked if I could make Hobbit furniture. And of course I said, yes, absolutely. I mean, because who wouldn't want to make Hobbit furniture? I had this panel laying around and he said, well, that looks like that would be a door for something that would be in a Hobbit house. And put this together. And it's a little tiny piece. It's almost a study of a piece, but you know how you're walking in the woods and you either see the acorn caps or the nuts themselves, and they're often not ever together. So the finials, I put together as two separate pieces with just a little rare earth magnet on the top.
That's great. That is absolutely wonderful.
So when people come by, when they first touch it, a lot of times they'll do this and they'll, oh no. But once they're aware of that surprise, the first thing they do when they come into the house, they just come into the house, hi, how you doing, how you doing? They'll come here, they'll do that, and they'll just keep walking.
As we walked through Mike's house, he pointed out several other pieces he built, like this hay rake table you may recognize from the magazine. This stickly piece was also featured, and this curious piece that lives upstairs.
Again, it's a case-on stand, but in this case, it's a little drop front desk.
Now that is just gorgeous.
Rules of design are really, really good, but I think it's important to be able to break the rules when you want to. And like the strap hinges, is like, do strap hinges go with sort of a mid-century modern piece? Nope, don't really care. I just like strap hinges, so they're gonna go on there. It's a Japanese element, it's called kumiko, and it's typically a gridwork you see on shoji screens in Japanese architecture. To me, it's just such a beautiful element, and just the way that it's made, all these pieces, you start with a background grid, and you bevel and cut these pieces to length and slip them in so that while it looks very delicate, all the pieces, because of their angles, you can put them all together, just dry fit, and it's a very solid, strong structure. So what I've got here is the finished kumiko square. This would be sort of a single unit of kumiko created by filling out 4 adjacent squares to create a larger square. It starts out with just a shiplapped grid. In this case, this square grid is very easy to make. It's just half lap so the pieces come together. So I'm creating 4 squares. The next step is to add a diagonal to each of the 4 squares. So I have a little shooting board with a 45-degree end on it, and I've got my stop block set up to where I can insert my stock. This is basswood. Typically, it's a light colored wood. And I just use a sharp chisel. I've tried using a block plane in the past. I have a little holder there just to hold that down. But I find a sharp chisel is just enough just to take that little edge off, and it leaves a really nice surface on there. And hopefully that stop block is in the right place. That should be able to fit right in there. And it's a nice snug fit. And it's amazing how all the parts just stay in place without glue. Although in most instances I do add a dab of glue to the corners just to hold them in place, to keep them from possibly coming loose at a later date.
How fun.
And then once those triangles are created, it's 3 more pieces are used to create the pattern within each square. And if you have big old fat fingers like me, it takes a little doing, but it's amazing how, with the pieces angled just right, once the pieces are in place, they really lock everything in together. And this is the funnest part, is just pushing in that last little locking piece. And that's basically the pattern. And when all the squares are filled out, you create, actually this is a hemp leaf pattern. It symbolizes good luck in Japan.
Somebody says, Mike Pekovich 10 years from now, what would you like them to think?
You know, if I have something to communicate that can help someone along their journey, that's great. I think, you know, it's maybe less for me than my furniture, in that I used to always think in terms of, oh, I want to make something that lasts 200 years. For some reason, 200 years, we always put that stamp on our furniture.
Is a magic.
This is built to last 200 years. And sort of a new thought to that is not so much making a piece of furniture that lasts a long time, but making a piece of furniture that has a long life. And those are sort of 2 different things. I kind of hope for my furniture I'm making today to be used, to be forgotten, to be rediscovered, and to sort of carry on 2nd and 3rd lives down the road. And I think, you know, furniture built for the long haul, and I would like one of my cabinets or boxes or tables to be sort of discovered at a flea market. No provenance, no gallery, no high price tag, no one explaining the wood and the grain and riffs on stock and through mortise and tenons, but just someone to say, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, come over here, honey. Look at this.
Yeah. Or it goes in and people use it for bills or for the keys by the front door, and it's just, you know, and it's just this anonymous piece that sort of in a really small way just, you know, increases the quality of life for the people who use it.
I've got the Lee Nielsen honing guide in the shop, and hopefully it will replace my old Eclipse style, which was very, very affordable, but not machined to high tolerances. Lee Nielsen machined this specifically for use with their blades, their chisels, their hand plane irons. It is made of stainless steel with a wonderful bronze bearing here, and it has some jaws. You remove these screws and there's a jaw on each side that comes off, and this is the standard set of jaws, and you can use it to hone a chisel, which I'm going to do in just a minute. But you buy other sets of Lee Nielsen jaws for other applications. This will also do most plane irons. So with a standard set, you're getting a lot of productivity out of it. Let's see how it works on my chisel. I'm starting with a 4,000 grit diamond stone, and I'm working a secondary bevel on my chisel. Now I'm moving over to an 8,000 grit diamond stone, just continuing to polish out that secondary bevel.
What I like about it is there's no extra movement. The bearing rolls so nicely and it's so substantial in your hand that there's no twisting or whatever that could take away from that great secondary bevel that you need to make a good cut. I'm turning the chisel over and getting rid of that little wire edge on the back. And finally, I'm taking it to my leather strop just to get a great edge. As you can see, it's plenty sharp. The Lee Nielsen Honing Guide is an asset to my shop. Improve your woodworking experience. Sign up for Wood News Online, a monthly newsletter showcasing the latest news, tips, and classes Highland Woodworking has to offer. By signing up, you'll receive the latest episode of the Highland Woodworker, special store promotions, and Wood News Online delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up today. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Follow us on our social media channels as well. And until next time, I'm Charles Brock, and I'm a Highland Woodworker.